Okay, so today we're going to be looking at how to start your poster projects or your editorial projects. So I am going to start by clicking on Create New in Photoshop. So our width is going to be 18 inches and our height is going to be 24 inches. And you're going to make sure that this says inches because sometimes it says something else like pixels, and we're not working from pixels because we are working for print. So we are going to click create, and it's going to open up our 18 by 24 inch document. Now, just as a reminder for how to image trace, I'm going to go into my layers panel here, and I'm going to come up here to File, and then I'm going to place embedded. So I'm clicking on place embedded. I'm going to find a document from my Google Drive that I've already saved. So right now my Google Drive is loading. And I just have a picture of a pig to use for today, so that should be loading soon. There we go. And I am going to expand it. And I'll just put it here for now. And I click my check mark. Okay, so now I have a layer with my piggy in it. So I'm going to add a new layer on top of that, an empty layer. You can tell that it's translucent and empty because we can see these little checker marks here. And I'm just going to rename that pig trace, because that is where I'm going to trace my piggy. Now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to select my brush tool. Up here I can change the brush tool. I'm going to change the hardness so I don't have any fuzzy outline. And I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. And let me also just zoom in so I can see what I'm working with a little better. Okay. So making sure that you're in that top layer in your layers panel. With your brush tool selected, you can start to trace around your image. I think I want this to be a little bigger, just so we can see what we're doing. Excuse me. Okay, so then I'm just using a black outline right now for the demo purposes, but as I talked about in class, using something that matches the tones of the picture would be really smart. So for this one, for example, I might use like a little bit of a darker pink just so I can still see it. And you guys are obviously going to take your time, but I'm just going to zip through this real quick. Okay, so when you reconnect, you want to make sure it closes off, because if you have any empty kind of gaps in your line, then when you go in to fill it in with the paint bucket tool, it's going to fill in everything, including your background. So be careful of that. Then you're going to go in and you're going to add some of those details. Again, I'm doing this super quickly. And one tip for you when you're adding in the details, so things like the eyelid or maybe some lines along the nose or these kind of folds in the ears, look for areas that there might be shadows and maybe draw with a thinner line there just to kind of give it more dimension. And since my ears are so much pinker than the rest of the pig, I'm actually just going to close this off so I can fill those in with a different color. And we'll throw in the eyelids while we're at it. Okay, so pretend that that looks nice. So now I'm going to click on my eyedropper tool over here. Again, I'm still in my image tracing layer. And this is where I can start to color sample from the photo. So if I wanted to sample this kind of darker browny pink for the ears, I would click on that. You can see it changed over here. And then I'm going to select my paint bucket tool and fill it in. So the paint bucket tool is sometimes hidden. So if we look here at our gradient tool, there's a small little arrow at the bottom. If you click and hold, it will open up more tools. That's the case for any of the tools that have a little arrow next to them. So my paint bucket tool is hidden within that gradient tool. So now I'm just going to click on the ear and it fills it in. I'm going to click on this one since they're probably going to be similar. Then I'm going to go back to my eyedropper tool and I'm going to get a nice pink from here. Paint bucket that in. And back to my eyedropper tool. And then I'm going to get one of these lighter kind of pinky. Let's see. If you click and hold while you're on the eyedropper tool, you can kind of move it around and see different colors to find one that you like. So I just want a little bit more of a pinky tone. So maybe like that. And my paint bucket tool, and then we fill it in. And then I would go in and I would start to add in more of those details to make it look less terrifying. So like the nose area here, maybe I would add some different details around the eyes just to give it more of a realistic look and not so flat. But that is how you image trace. So when I turn off my image layer right here, when I make it so it's not visible by clicking on that eyeball, all you can see is the drawing. Okay, so now I just want to show you guys, I've just added a couple more details to the pig here. I'm still in my pig trace layer. If I wanted to close out of my image, again, I would just click on that eyeball tool and then I would just have my pig face. I am going to move it and resize it. So in order to move it, you're going to click the move tool over here. And then I can, as long as I'm in the correct layer, move around whatever is in the layer that has been selected. So I can move it here. Okay, as I was saying, if I wanted to change the size of my image or my layer, that I would make sure that it's selected, and then I would go to edit and then down to transform. And under transform, you can do a bunch of different things. You can change the scale of it, so change the size, you can distort it, you can change the perspective, you can rotate it. I'm just going to click on scale because all I want to do is make it a little bit bigger. So I'm just going to scale it to a larger size. And then I'm going to click the check mark here. And there we go. I have a larger pig head. If I want to add text, there is the letter T over here. If you click on the little arrow and hold, a bunch of different text options come up for this project, unless you're a digital 2, in which case you can, do whatever you need to do with the text to make your editorial cartoon the way you want it. But for my digital 1s, in order to add text, you just click on the letter T, and then you click, and it's going to create its own layer. So I am just going to write pig. And to move the text around, there's a little box over here on the side. You can click it, click it, and reposition. You'll be able to move it once you're done editing the text as well. But I can also come up here and I can change the font. In the sample section, you can see what that font would look like. So if I wanted to use impact, for example, and have a kind of bold, thick font, you can change the size of it. Normally it'll start you off at a really small, like 12-point font. It goes up to 72 here, but you can manually type in whatever size you want. So if I wanted it to be 300, for example, over here you can change the color. It's basically like you're working in a Google Doc or in Microsoft Word for the text. Then when I'm happy with it, I could click check mark, and it creates its own layer for me of text, which I can then go in, and if I want to move it, then I can move it around as long as I'm in the correct layer. I can transform it, I can rotate it, all that stuff that you can do in a normal layer. I do also want to show you guys the vertical type tool, which is right underneath of the horizontal type tool. All this does is type vertically. So I could type pig again, and it's going to show up on a vertical line. So that could be something cool to add to your pig. That could be cool to add to your poster or your editorial cartoon, if that's something that you want to have, like maybe some words along the side, or I don't know. But that's how you add text. That's how you image trace. That's how we're starting this project. Hopefully this was helpful for you guys. And of course, if you have any questions, you can always email me or ask me during class time, come in Wednesday, check in, all of that stuff. I'm here to help.